We'll get it going. There
Okay,
we go.
then
Now
I
we know.
will then I'll go on mute unless you know, you have anything, or like we talked about earlier.
Oh, you could, you know,
Give a little intro.
Yeah, we could stay chit-chatting.
I'll go ahead and give a little intro. So everybody, what we got here is a WhaleStream webinar presentation. This is going to be a discussion on what the platform is, how it's used, why it was created, and how you can use it on your day-to-day basis. If there's any questions, you can use the Zoom question area. For those who can't find it or find that uncomfortable, you can use the Discord chat, and we'll just funnel those questions through and make sure that they get answered. At the end of this, there is an affiliate link that is on the Bullish Bears website. I believe I'll check with Angel to make sure it is where it's supposed to be, and you'll be able to find that by using the search feature on the Bullish Bears Discord. Just go to the upper right hand corner or check the blogs and search for WhaleStream.
Thank you. And first I'll introduce myself. I'm Josh. I'm Josh. I'm one of the co-founders of WhaleStream, and kind of wanted to give you guys a little tour of the platform, how to use it, different ways you can use it, some of the different features and stuff. So that's what we're going to do. I don't know if you want me to start yet, or if we should wait for the official 1 o'clock in 5 seconds. But or are we waiting for a few more people to come in, or just kick it off?
I would say go ahead and kick it off. There's always going to be people that show up late.
All right,
they'll catch it on the replay.
So thanks for having me, and we'll just get right to it. So first, I'll kind of explain what our platform is, which is a unusual options / options flow and dark pool monitoring platform. So what options flow is think about like the time and sales on the stock side. This is the time and sales of options. So we, up until recently, we were showing buys and sales separately because a lot of people don't really know what to do when they're looking at the sold puts and calls. So a lot of the platforms only show you buy flow, which is what your dashboard would default to. And you'll see all the orders filled on or above the ask or towards the ask side. And you can filter by many different things, but first I want to kind of explain how that works and why you make the assumption of buy versus sell. So think of it like supply and demand. If somebody is selling something and, you know, somebody really wants to get out, they're more likely to sell it at whatever they can get. So those would be filled on the bid. When people are buying something and they really want to get in, it's supply and demand. They'll pay what they can to get it because they want in. So they'll buy it at the ask price. And then we indicate the side over here. And if it's buy flow, you'll obviously know you're only looking at the stuff on the ask side. You could also look at sales only. And when it's a sale with options, the sentiment is actually inverted. So a call becomes more bearish because they're selling calls. They don't think it's going to go up. Whereas a call, normally, if you're buying a call, it's because you think the value of the stock, the underlying, is going to go up. With puts, if they're selling a put, it's going to be more bullish. So we actually color our dashboard by sentiment. So you can see the calls are red. And when it's sold, we have this little sold tag right there as well, just to point it out for you. And it's important to remember these are all assumptions based on that bid and ask and where the order is filled. But recently we add merged flow, which now mixes everything. So you can see the buys, the sales, and again, you can see green calls and red calls because these are being sold. And then we get a mixed sentiment here at the top. Basically like a net sentiment of the buys and the sales. So one of the things that is a little bit different about us is we like to show as much information in an easy to read and easy to absorb format. So you'll see we have all the order details over here. And then you'll see quantity greater than OI, days volume is greater than OI. The post means post earnings, pre means pre earnings. We let you know if it's in the money. We point out a lot of specific details about the orders to hopefully get it in your brain pretty quickly. So the faster you can dissect and interpret the information, the quicker you can act on it. So we try to put all the important details right in your face. And then you could also, most of the dashboard is interactive. So if you click on in the money, it's going to filter to only in the money orders. If you click it again, it'll remove it. Same with the written. Oh, I missed it. The written. Okay, there's a lot of flow coming in, so I'm missed. Okay, there we go. So the written filter, and what written means is it means that based on the current volume and the current OI, and this is very important, these are things to really keep an eye on. It means that new contracts actually had to be created in order to fill that order, because based on the OI and the current volume before that trade, there weren't enough contracts in existence to fill it. So somebody actually had to write and sell. So it was a buy to open and a sell to open trade, which will result in an increase in OI. So that is the basic of what we show right here on the dashboard. But then we have a lot of different ways you can filter it. Like I said, some of the things like written, but our highly unusual is something that all of our users love, which is very, very strict parameters that need to be met in order to be flagged. And it is a proprietary formula, but I can kind of tell you a little bit of some of the things that we do look at. So we look at the volume related to the OI. We look at the quantity. We look at the premium. We look at the out of the moneyness. And we examine all these different parameters to basically determine how out of the ordinary this order is in relation to the flow on that symbol and where the stock is currently trading. And these, we don't advertise any success rates, so I'm not going to, but these do have a really nice win rate, but they're, you can kind of back test them yourself using our order X-ray tool, which I'll go over in a bit. But basically you can, usually these will play out about 2-3 days. These are great for swings. I always recommend do your due diligence before you enter any trades. Flow is just a tool that you should be using in conjunction with the other tools that you're already using. So your technical analysis, your flow, your fundamentals, all work together to get the best bang for your buck, and really, you know, enter with confidence. So the highly unusuals, and we can take a look at a few of them right now, just to kind of show you the X-ray tool at the same time. Let's click on ArcF. So when you first click on an order and you click on the X-ray tool, it'll actually bring up related flow on the same strike and expiration. It'll also show you the puts on the same strike and expiration, so you can see related, and then you can see sell flow as well. You'll see more details about the order, stuff that we can't necessarily fit on the dashboard, but you can see more details. Then over here, when you click charts, we actually show you the contract chart on the top. So this is the contract's price. The bottom is the actual underlying stock. So it shows you where this trade took place. It points a little arrow, and then it shows you what kind of happened afterwards. So this, they paid 40 cents per contract, and it's currently trading at about 55 cents. If anybody has any questions, I see Mike is throwing it in the chat, but if anyone has any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer them. But from here also, you can see when they entered the call in relation to the stock price and kind of see what happened afterwards. So they got in when it was trading around 1950. It's currently trading 55 cents higher. And you could see that increase in the contract price. We also give you some quick little news updates on the stock and related stocks, or this one happens to be an ETF. So these will probably be more relevant to the stocks within the ETF, but also Cathie Wood's in general. And then it gives you some company information, and that's a lot of what you get with the X-ray tool, which this part is extremely powerful, especially for backtesting, to see how past things have played out, seeing the contract value along with the stock price. You could also flip on these buttons and you can kind of see where whales have bought and sold. These all happen to be at the 40-cent mark, but you could see other orders where they were executed. And over here, you can see dark pool levels, which there don't appear to be any. Another really cool tool is the market tracker. So when you click on the market tracker, it's showing the new tab, right? Just want to make sure I'm sharing it properly. Are you guys seeing? Somebody put it in the chat, or
So
Mike, if you
what
want.
I see is your NVIDIA with the dark pool levels, and then
Okay.
you're most active and
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so this is going to bring up more details on the underlying symbol that you were looking at. So in this case, this top chart is going to be the stock chart with dark pool level prints. So where trades have taken place, you'll see lines for supports and resistance. And that's because a lot of people use the dark pools as levels of support and resistance, because it's where big money has flown in or flown out of a stock. It's where big money is buying or selling a lot of shares. So they tend to act as key levels of support and resistance. We'll also show you some of the top strikes that are being bought on that symbol over the last 5 days, and some of the top strikes that are being sold on that symbol over the last 5 days as well. And then you can we break it down by calls and puts. We got the dark pool levels over here in another format, not necessarily overlaid over the chart, but just showing. So this is going to show you where the stock is currently trading, and then the levels above and below it. And you can kind of see based on the premium of each level. Oh, I was just informed that the chat is turned off. So hold on and let me see if I can figure out how to fix that. Give me 1 second. Mike, do you know how to enable that?
so on your Zoom bar where it has the people that are in the room, you should be able to see you, me, and then them, another group. In the lower portion of that box, there should be 3 dots, and it gives you the ability to give people permission to annotate, to give them a chance to mute and unmute, and it should be in there where it allows them to
yeah, it's not giving me that. I see it when I'm looking at you and me as the panelists, but I'm not seeing it for the chat. I mean, for the attendees side, I just see the lower all attendees, all their hands.
So
let's
what
see.
I would say is go ahead and keep going, and I'll check the Zoom site and see if I can find like a picture walkthrough, and I'll send it to you in the Discord on the side, because I know there's people watching this who can't talk in our Discord, so we'll want to get it turned on. But if you just keep going, I'll find the workaround for you.
Okay, I do see somebody had asked a question in the Q&A. So if you guys can access the Q&A, you could do it from that panel, I guess, if the chat's not working. In the meantime, and just let me know if that works, because I see somebody.
Yep.
Okay, so in the meantime, I will continue while we look into that. And so the dark pool levels, it's going to show you based on the premium and the levels above and below. So you'll see the bar is bigger when more money was traded at that price level. And again, these levels are important because they can act as strong levels of support and resistance. The open interest trend is just the total open interest over the last, I think it's like 10 days or so, of calls and puts. So the total amount of calls, total amount of puts over the last 10 or so days, just showing it visually so you could see the increase and decrease and how it has changed over the past week or so. Then the largest one-day open interest movements, which you can also view. We have another page for just OI in general. But this just gives you a quick little overview of the top OI for the symbol that you're viewing. And then some major holders, institutions, the percent of the equity that they're actually holding, and some information like that as well. Then you got the news down here again, and you could just click here and view the article. So now let's head back to the dashboard. And we'll talk about some of the different ways that I use the flow, and some of the other ways that other people can use the flow as well. So I personally, I primarily trade SPY, SPY and SPX, and I'm a scalper. I'm in and out fairly quickly. Yesterday I did one trade and it was a total of 3 minutes. So I like to be in and out pretty quickly, but the way that I like to use it. So what I tell a lot of people, and this is important to know if you use flow, SPY is one of the most heavily traded symbols that is used for hedging. While there's a lot of trades that are also being placed for directional bets, it's also very leveraged for hedges. So I don't look at SPY flow personally, or ETF flow in general for the most part. And what I like to do instead is I look at the symbols that make up the S&P. So instead of looking at the actual SPY flow, I'll go over here, and we created a filter that actually just shows you the top 25 highest weighted symbols within the S&P. So the ones that really affect the movement of SPY. Like Apple is the heaviest weighted symbol within the S&P. So when you see bullishness on Apple, it has enough weight that it can really move the S&P, even if the majority of the rest of the market is red. So what I like to do is, let's say I use my technical analysis. I like to trade bull flags personally and bear flags. I like flags. I like cup and handles, and head and shoulders. Those are like my 3 patterns. I don't like to stray away from them very much. I'm just reading what Mike said. Okay, so the chat won't be able to be turned on during this, but we can at the end we'll give Mike permission again, and then he might be able to enable it then. And if not, again, you could just throw questions into the Q&A and we can try and address them there. Oh, there we go. Somebody just put one in there saying we can use the Q&A chat. Perfect. Okay, so back to the flow. So some of the ways that I like to use it, I'll be looking at this S&P flow. If I'm seeing a bull flag and I'm about to enter calls, before I enter them, I like to look at the flow, and I'll keep my filters very basic. I just have the S&P on, and then it shows 2 because I have the merge flow on as well. So when I'm looking at this, what I really want to see is the most recent orders. I want to see them coming in the same direction. If that's not happening, I'm going to sit it out. Remember, guys, you don't have to trade just because every single trade. If you don't see all of the things that you like to see all in agreement, then you don't need to enter the trade. There's always going to be another trade. There's no, I need to trade every 5 minutes. It's if I don't see the perfect setup, I'm not going to enter. So I'll sit that one out. Right now, if I was looking at a bear flag though, I'm seeing a lot of red flow. This happens to be on the sell side, so they're selling calls. But I'm not looking at a chart right now, so I don't see what's happening. But I'm just kind of telling you kind of what I look for in the short term when I'm about to enter, just to get that added confirmation. So that's what I'd be looking at as far as for my scalping on SPY or SPX. Now, what a lot of people don't necessarily trade the same way as me, so I want to cover some of the other ways that people can use flow. One, obviously you can use it for trade ideas, finding symbols that might not have been on your radar. You're seeing a lot of flow, or maybe you come over here to the top flow, which is going to show you the highest premiums by symbol and by calls and puts so far for the day. So this updates in real time. As orders come in, these bars will adjust. And you can see Netflix puts are getting a lot of attention today. And maybe I'll want to take a closer look at what's happening with Netflix. And we'll see, okay, there's a good amount of bearish flow. There's sold puts happening. So that could also be, so the thing with the sold options is also it can be people just taking their profit. Maybe they entered earlier in the day, now they're selling because they're green, or it could be someone selling to open. So it's always worth considering all sides, because everything, you have to make a lot of your own internal assessments and judgments when looking at this data. Just like with the time and sales, you need to kind of think outside the box, think of the different things that the different types of ways that they could be making these trades. So is it part of a hedge? Is it profit taking? It won't, for the most part, most of the trades that you're going to see on WhaleStream are not going to be part of multi-leg strategies. And that's because we currently are filtering them out, because if you're not looking at the merged flow and you're not looking at everything and you don't really know how it would all work together, it really can just muddy the water for you. We are going to be adding something in the future that actually points out the strategies of the multi-leg strategies, but while they would be showing up separately, it actually just confuses a lot of people, so we opted to keep them out of there. But they will be coming soon, actually, with the actual strategies that we believe they're using. So when you look at the Netflix flow, you can see a lot of sold puts, but a lot of bought puts. Most of the volume today is actually on puts, whether it be sold or bought. There isn't much call flow at all. Do I have any other filters on as well? Let me just. Yeah, so I'm not seeing any bought calls on Netflix today, which is actually pretty unusual. So let's take a look at a Netflix chart, shall we? And here's a sold call. So you can see today, it looks like it's actually green for the day. But these are all positions that are happening today. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to pay today. So it's worth keeping an eye on Netflix over the next few days to see what happens, because it looks like a lot of people are getting more bearish on Netflix. So something to keep on your radar. Now, I want to kind of touch base on this really quick, just because it's in my face and I keep looking at it. So the dark pools, a lot of people ask about dark pools. They don't really understand how they work. They are private institutions that we don't have access to. I mean, they're private exchanges that are only available to institutions, that we don't have access to. There's no order book, so you can't see pending orders of bids and asks. It's kind of, they place an order, nobody sees it. If somebody places a counter order, it'll get filled. And the reason why they exist isn't so much to be shady, even though they kind of are. But the reason behind them is so that when these institutions are buying a ton of shares, their one trade would drive the price up before their trade would completely fill. Like if they're buying a few million shares of something, people are going to see that order sitting there and they're going to start raising their ask price, and they're not going to get filled all at the desired price that they're trying to get in. So because people are going to see that and be like, "Ooh, somebody's trying to get in. Let's make some money off of this." And same with sales. Them selling millions of shares all at once could crash and cause a ton of volatility on the market. So that was the purpose of dark pools. They do have some shady practices because there's a lot that goes on that you can't see. They don't have to report everything exactly when it happens. Sorry, I'm going to get to your question in a second, or statement in a second, Jeremy. Yeah, and you don't really see a lot of the question. I mean, a lot of the intent behind dark pool trades, because they don't. You can't tell if it's a buy or a sale. You can't tell a lot of things. So what we've actually done, we've taken a lot of time to examine the documentation that comes along with having a feed like this, of all the backend codes, and we've determined which codes that they feed to us with a trade can indicate that the trade was not reported on time. For the ones that seem to have been reported on time, we're actually matching up the bid and the ask for those trades at the time, like with the timestamp. We're taking the timestamp, matching it up against the bid and the ask, and determining an assumed side of trade. So we can't see if it's a buy or a sell, and we can't know for sure, but we're, based on our documentation that we've examined, we are determining that this one was below bid, so this was a sale. This one was towards the ask, so it's assumed buy. This one was right in the mid, so there's no sentiment, and we color them based on if we believe they're a buy or a sell, based on that. But again, these are just assumptions. They are not a true sure thing. And now I want to get to Jeremy's question or comment. Where'd it go? Okay. So for the sell to open and buy to open versus OI, I don't know if everybody can see the question. So I'm going to read his question. He said, sell to open and buy to open versus OI would be tricky to track unless block trades are found. Good stuff. So the way we're actually able to tell that something is a buy to open and sell to open trade and increase, which would result in an increase in OI, is, and I'll show you the math because I figured this out by accident because nobody else was doing this. But basically, here's a written order. Let's click on it so that it doesn't go away. So when you look at the open interest, there was 26 OI. So as of yesterday, there were only 26 open contracts. The volume today is 153, and that includes this trade of 125. So before this trade, there was like 28. The volume was only 28. So when you're looking when you're looking at the OI and the volume, that's 28 plus 26. You're around like 58, 60-ish, and or 55, whatever. I'm just rounding, but that's only 55-ish to 60 contracts in all of existence before this trade took place, and this trade was for 125 contracts. So that lets you know, hey, there was only at max, that's assuming that the trades that happened before this one were all opening as well. So at max, there was only about, we'll call it 60 contracts, and they're filling 125. So there is at least 71 contracts needed to be written in order to fill this order. So new contracts had to be created because the OI and the volume just wasn't there before this trade to even have enough contracts already in existence, if that makes sense. So I'm getting some questions that Mike is putting in the chat from, I guess it's coming from the Discord. So to answer that, so the alerts that we give, you can enable text alerts. You go over here and then you can enable text alerts. We have them available right now for the unusuals and the highly unusuals. So somebody asked, how can a user learn to trust these alerts? So we have historical flow over here. So when you go to historical, it'll keep you on the dashboard. It'll start loading. You could choose a date range, right? So let's do July 1st to July 20th, because a lot of those will have had a chance to play out. And then the things that we alert on are going to be these. But actually, let's just look at the highly unusuals, because that's our most people love our highly unusuals. We'll leave it at that, because I don't want to give any claims or anything like that, because I feel like that's I don't like to do that. I'd rather people see for themselves, come in here, go in the historical. We do have a 7-day free trial. So when you do sign up with the Bullish Bears affiliate code, you will get a discount. But on top of that, all members always get a 7-day free trial. So you could try it out for a week. You can cancel at any time. You still have your whole week. So if you cancel same day, you'll still be able to finish out your week trial. But hopefully you don't cancel and you love us and you stay. So let's click on a random one. So this is one way that you can backtest these things. When you click on the order X-ray tool, it'll bring up again the related flow. Then when you go to the charts, on the top, you're going to have the contract flow, the contract price. So this is the price of the contract where it was trading. And we can turn these on also so you can see where buys and sales had taken place. And then we have down here the actual stock, the underlying stock's price and dark pool levels. So you can turn those on like that. Now, when you're looking, you could see that they entered here at 380, while if they were still holding it right now, they would be down. You could see this was on 719 around 2, and on 720, this thing was trading at 650. So you can kind of see how they play out over the course afterwards. That's just one example. That's all. I don't think that's 100%, but it's close. Let's click on another one. We'll do master because there's 2 in a row. That's probably a good sign. So here, this one was a more expensive contract. I'm just showing you a few just to show you kind of how you can backtest these things, and just showing you a few examples. Again, we'll look at the buy and sell. Okay, so that this one didn't have other trades on this exact contract, and you can kind of see where the stock has gone after the fact. And then when you're looking over here, you can see they paid $789. It did reach a high of $21.80 for the contract price, and it's currently trading at $10.50. So it's still even right now, which is, this was on 7/19, and today is 8/3. So even about a week later, I mean, more than a week later, a few weeks later, really close to the expiration date, this is still up. It would still be a positive trade. So that's just some of the ways you could backtest and kind of look. You could also just go through historical. It doesn't have to be highly unusual. You could do this on anything. But you can kind of see how things play out. I always recommend before you ever start trading with flow, you kind of watch and see how things do play out after the fact. So not necessarily trading yet, and just sitting on the sidelines and kind of learning, because there is a learning curve, and kind of figuring out how you'll use it is going to be different than how I use it. So I always say there's 3 different ways that people can use flow. They could use it for confirmation bias. So like how I use it a lot of the time, I'm looking at a bull flag. All of a sudden I start seeing bullish flow on the same symbol or related symbols. And I'm like, oh yeah, the whales are on my side. Let me get in. Or you could use it as confirmation no. And you're looking at a bull flag, or so you think, but you see a ton of bearish flow coming in. You might sit that one out, because why are you going to bet against the big money? The whole reason why you're using a platform like WhaleStream is to see what the smart money and the whales are buying and selling. Not necessarily are they always going to be correct, but you don't want to bet against big money, because you'll get slaughtered. They have more money than most of us do, so they're going to usually win in those battles. Unless we're talking GME, AMC, but we're not going to get into that. But yeah, when you have big money going against your play, it's just a good sign that you should probably sit that one out, or at least have a tighter stop. Let me get to the next question. What are the steps you would recommend a user take to backtest the alerts? Oh, I guess that was I don't know, was that all the same question? You see an alert and mark it on the chart, look back at the chart a few days later and see if it went the direction you thought. So correct. That's some of the ways you can backtest, and kind of feel a little bit more confident using these, using the flow, and feeling more comfortable entering trades based on the flow. Because you've kind of sat on the sidelines, you've seen how things react, you know what things to look for. And again, we try to point out a lot of those important information over here on these tags. So if you have questions on what any of these mean, you could always highlight over it and it'll actually tell you what it means. So in order for a trade to be aggressive, the order has to expire within 35 days and be out of the money by at least 7.5%. So that's aggressive because they're expecting a pretty large move, 7.5%. On a good year or on an average year, if you can get 7.5% on your entire portfolio, that's nice. So if they're expecting a 7.5% move within 35 days or less, that's pretty aggressive, and it's worth putting on your radar. When the day's volume is greater than the OI, you can see some of these are lower OI. So the day's volume is not going to be difficult to exceed on those. But when you have things like this that have over 2,000 OI, and then you're seeing 12,000 volume on that day, that's really worth noting. So if let's say you're a new trader. So another question came in about where to find some educational content. If you're a newer trader or you're trying to learn, what certain things on the dashboard mean, we do have a learning section over here where you can go to education resources, the dashboard overview, which we have a new one that we're going to be pushing up very soon that kind of shows some of the newer features that we've added since. But if you go to the learning section, we have all different types of write-ups. This will tell you a lot about dark pools, and I spend a lot of time writing this up. So hopefully you read it all. But we have highlighted flow, which is going to be these orders. So this is a golden sweep, which is highlighted flow is, in general, highlighted flow is all over $1 million in premium. Green is going to be bullish. Red is going to be bearish highlighted flow over $1 million. But the golden sweeps are over 1 million, they have to have the quantity over OI, and they need to be a sweep. So those are pretty common on flow platforms, that people point out the golden sweeps. They do have a really good success rate, especially when they're in combination with something like a highly unusual. So those, if we take a look, this came in on 720. This one, they paid 325. This one didn't play out as normal, but again, not everything is a perfect science. Some things, I mean, this was leading into what's it called, a very volatile week where the market did take a turnaround. But let's see if there's any others of those in here. There is not, but there again, there was, what did I just click on?
So one of the things about your platform that I really loved was how intuitively it was designed, that I was able to just turn it on and it was ready to go. If say I come into the day, I'm already bullish, the market's bullish, I'm feeling like it's going to be a bullish day, what settings would I want to change, or what presets would I want to go to say I'm looking for bullish moves today and I want to kind of tune out or maybe quiet any of the bearish signals?
So you can do that a few ways. So let me go back to live flow. And we will, if you want to see just bought calls, you can get out of merged flow and you can go to calls only over here, or you can simply just click on the word call on your dashboard and it'll show you all of the calls. But something I like to do instead of doing that, because even if I'm bullish, I still like to see personally, and this might be different per person, I still like to see the bearish things, because I could be bullish, but if the world doesn't agree with me, that could be no bueno. But what I like to do is use this over here, the top flow, and then you can go to the calls and see the things that are most bullish today. So this will show you the top premiums of on the call side of bought calls, and this will show you the top premiums of bought puts for the day. And then here it shows them mixed. Today, surprisingly, did the market turn around, or is it still super green? Okay, yeah, it's still super green. So today a lot of people are buying up puts. What that could mean is that we could be about to be reaching a turnaround. People are starting to get their short positions in place. But if, again, this is back to your question, if you're looking at calls and you want to see the most bullish positions, Tesla today would have been one to take a look at, and let's see how that played out. It's up 2% today. SPX is up 1.5%. SPY, which is the next one on the list, is going to be the same 1.5%. And PayPal, let's take a look at that. PayPal's up about 10%. Oh yeah, they just had their earnings, and I think they announced that they were doing a buyback. So those would be your top bullish symbols, and then you can go over here and kind of start dissecting those flows. So like if you look at PayPal, you can then see what people are, the orders that people are doing, the positions that they're taking, and kind of gauge your position like that. If you want to focus more on the larger trades, higher premium, you can adjust your minimum premium to 100K and see what people are getting into. So now you'll notice that here it is showing bearish. This is actually a glitch that is being fixed because there's no, well, hold on, let me get rid of some of this other stuff because we're looking at that. That's why. When we're filtering out certain things and then there's no puts showing up, the math just makes it kind of glitch, but we have a fix for that. It's just about to be pushed. So this will just say not available type of thing. So you'll see the flow is obviously very bullish. And as of recent, you're seeing more puts being opened and for 2023. And we like to point out that it's for next year because a lot of people look at expiration dates and then get confused, especially if it's like we're in August and you're seeing September 2023. People are going to be looking for those contracts and being like, I don't even see that expiration date. So we like to underline when it's not for the current year and make it pink, 2024. These are sold puts happening here. So these are bullish. And you can kind of see there's a lot of selling puts, a lot of buying puts for further out. And then you'll see sold puts. I do want to see where these calls were all being bought. Because that was the highest call premium. You could see a lot more green earlier in the day. I think they're getting ready for, it's up 10%. They're going to try and make a little bit money on the way down. So, but that's how you would have been able to find some of those bigger movers in the day, is coming to that top flow, seeing it by premium, and then seeing the things getting the most premium into them, and then kind of trading from there. Let's get out of here. Where are the Q&As? Okay, nothing. Now, as far as, I think I went over this at the beginning, but as far as the actual platform itself, most of these things you can click on and boom, it'll filter to it. So if you want to see things that are that they're going to have either earnings after hours today or pre-market tomorrow, this is all the flow that's coming in on those symbols. That's what this filter does. And then you click it again, it removes it. Same with the post, in the money, day volume greater than OI, all those. If you want to focus on sweeps, which a lot of people that use flow, they don't care about the splits. They don't care about the block orders. They only want to look at their they want to look at the sweeps, because what sweeps are is people trying to get in pretty quickly, and they're also often used as a way of like kind of trying to fly under the radar, because the way a sweep actually hits the tape is multiple smaller trades. So some of these sweeps can be 25 separate transactions, but they all came from the same person. So let's say they're trying to fill 1,000 contracts, right? And they want to break that up because they don't want to raise any flags. So they buy 100 here, 25 here, all on different exchanges. So they sweep it across multiple exchanges, so that when you're seeing it, you're not seeing one trade of 1,000 contracts. You're seeing a bunch of smaller trades and you don't think anything of it. We actually detect those trades when they're executed, and we group them together so you can see their true size. So that's what a sweep is, and that's why a lot of people do like to see it. They want to get in quickly. They want the best fill, so they're willing to sweep it across multiple exchanges, but also it can help to kind of fly under the radar. So it has multiple use cases, like why they would use a sweep rather than just entering a trade. Mike, if you can let Nedge know, they're asking a question in the Q&A. If you can let them know where this is going, the recording is going to be. I know it's going to be on the YouTube, the Bullish Bears YouTube, and I believe on the website as well. But Mike, if you could just correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, we're going to have on our blog post, we always provide like a write-up on what the moderators, us at the Bullish Bears, have thought about the product. And then we usually put a link on that blog post. So on the Bullish Bears website, where the affiliate link is going to be, there will likely be a write-up and then a link to this video, but also on YouTube itself. So if you were to go to YouTube and search Bullish Bears WhaleStream webinar, this video will pop up for you later on. very likely be on our YouTube within the next day or two. I don't like to rush Angel and put a date and time on it because she's busy too, and it might take her a good 24 hours or so before it finally gets onto our site.
Thank you, Mike. And I do want to apologize if I've kind of been all over the place, but as I start diving into one thing, I'm like, oh, here's this. And then I kind of show you that. So if I'm going off the track that you would like me to go on, just throw something in there, be like, hey, can you talk more about this? Because sometimes I'll get sidetracked and because I'll see something pretty over here in red or green and I'll be like, oh, colors. So just put something in the question and answer, and I will do my best to address your questions as they come in. So as far as the flow goes, that's on this page, that's kind of what you're going to be looking for. You can, again, edit all of these. We're about to be adding a feature soon that will let you, let's say you have certain filter settings that you really enjoy using, but you also switch it up a lot. Like I think you've probably noticed during this, I have switched it up many times. So soon you'll actually be able to save your filter settings and name them. And then at the top, there'll be a little section where you could just click them. Boom, it goes to that filter setting. You want to switch to the other, boom, it goes to that. And it could be a combination of multiple things. It could even be as simple as, I mean, we have a watch list, so you could literally just add symbols like by clicking on these stars, boom, boom, boom. And then when you toggle on your watch list over here, it'll just show you the symbols that are in your watch list. You can manage your watch list over here. We have an ignore list as well. So if you want to ignore symbols, I put spy here as an example once, and I guess it's still there because I never turn on the ignored personally. But you can toggle on ignored, and now it won't show spy. And you could add and remove things from your watch list and ignore list from there as well. What are some other things on here? You could export. So whatever's on your flow, whatever's on your dashboard, let's say you're looking at Apple and whatever, and let's say, what else do I have on? I have merge flow, sweeps, and let's do unusual orders. Okay, there were none. Let's do just out of the money and days volume greater than open interest. Boom. Okay, so now you'll have this on here. You have some nice flow that, and let's say you want to analyze it, you want to throw it in Excel, use it, you know, you just click this button right here and you could actually download the data that's on your dashboard right now. So you could export it, use it for other purposes, for other back testing. And that's the export tool.
Earlier you were showing a chart that had a bunch of lines on it. Those were dark pool prints, right?
Yeah, so that was, I was basically recreating, where is it? I think I did Apple. Somebody in the WhaleStream Discord, which is, you could also get to from here if you're a WhaleStream member, or it's, you could just get to it from anywhere on the website to join. It's free. When you go here, it again, the market tracker will show you the chart with the dark pool levels. Currently we have the 1 minute chart. We're going to be adding more time frames. So what I was doing before, because somebody was asking like how dark pool levels kind of work with the stock as support and resistance. So I was kind of drawing them in on manually on here to kind of show in different time frames. So let's go to the, you can see my my chart now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are daily charts now. And you can kind of see over here, it kind of sits right in this area as a resistance. Then over here, it looks like it breaks through, it struggles, and then it finally breaks above. This one was a smaller one. Actually, no, that one was the bigger one. So when it broke above here, it rocketed. But you can kind of, I thought I went further back. You can see right here, this is literally where the market turned around. Boom, and well, for Apple. So the level was right there and literally bounced all the way back up from there. And there were multiple different levels like right in that area. So, and you can kind of see over here, I didn't go far enough back, and I don't use TrendSpider that much, but we do. So I didn't know how to go further back, but basically, you could see it was this level also kind of acted as a resistance, then support over here as well, and you can kind of see how it kind of acts as those supports and resistance. I was just kind of trying to draw it so that I could kind of show it in different time frames of how it has played out over time. You can see right here.
This platform, it links to TradingView originally though, right?
Yeah, our platform does. I have so many studies on my charts that I didn't think my chart would be a good one to open up on here. But yeah, you can. Another thing, this button right here will actually open a TradingView chart of whatever symbol you're looking at. So I'll do it, but it's going to have some other stuff on here with buy and sell signals and stuff like that. But that's not a WhaleStream thing. So I try not to. Wait, did that open? Oh, it's a different tab. Okay. But yeah, you can basically, if you copy this part of your URL, you can paste that in your settings over here.
So that's your preferred chart, and it opens your preferred chart when you request it?
Exactly. So that's my preferred chart. When I open the TradingView chart from the WhaleStream platform, as long as I pasted my URL into here, as you can see here, you choose your preferred chart time interval, and it'll actually open in that manner as well. And if you don't do that, it'll open the free version of TradingView. This works if you have a TradingView account and you have your own settings and you paste that chart setup. If you don't, it'll just open up with the 15-minute delayed data that TradingView provides for free with their chart widget.
I noticed that your lines weren't on there, so it won't integrate those dark pool lines onto your TradingView chart.
No, that's actually why we built we had to kind of create our own charts in our platform. Because TradingView doesn't allow a lot of outside data. So it's mainly you could build studies based off the internal data, and you could input certain data, but only to an extent. So like we wouldn't be able to feed it so that if you had a WhaleStream study or something on your thing, it wouldn't be market wide. We could only do it for a few rows or a few like bars at a time. So that doesn't work that way, which is why we wound up creating the internal charts as well.
There's a question about VIX options, and I'll add to that question. Your platform does index options, right? SPX,
Correct.
IndX. What about VIX options?
Correct. Right here, you can see the VIX flow. The indexes are all gonna typically, if you want to look at indexes, you definitely don't want to look at only sweeps, because you'll never see one, because they're all going to be either splits or blocks, because they're all going to take place on the SIBO markets, on the SIBO exchanges, since they are SIBO products. So definitely don't keep the sweeps on, and then you'll be able to see the indexes. We have a lot of people that like to filter them out, so we also have a filter at the top that you could hide index flow, you could hide ETF flow, because like I said before, a lot of ETF flow, like SPY, is going to be hedges. So getting a sentiment off of that is tough, but looking at the symbols that make it up is definitely much better. With the indexes, again, they can be hedges, but with VIX and stuff like that, they are usually more directional bets. Don't quote me on that, because I don't want to say that, but see for yourself, play around with it. It is a tool. It's not a follow the whales and you're gonna be a billionaire. It's use the whales to kind of support your thesis or help you create a thesis, because you're seeing that they're buying, you go do your due diligence, you see why they're buying, or you think you see, or you know something might be coming up that gives you, you're seeing that this whale thinks that that news is going to be, it's going to turn out in the company's favor. So they're betting on calls. And if they're putting big money and, this event is coming up, it's likely speculation, or it, unfortunately, I don't know how right it is, but a lot of the time the whales know something that we don't. Like when Elon Musk bought a ton of Twitter shares before that was public knowledge, the day before, the amount of highly unusual call alerts that came in were insane. We had some people make over 1,000%. Because I don't recommend this, but there are people that do follow the highly unusuals blindly. They'll buy some, they'll do a little bit of DD, like they don't like to buy certain ones, but a lot of people do follow them blindly. And I do not recommend doing this at all. Always do your due diligence. But sometimes when you see stuff that is happening and you see multiple highly unusuals, sometimes you may play a lotto and you only put in what you're willing to lose. So if you're not willing to lose it, don't blindly follow anything. Always do your due diligence before entering any trades.
You mentioned alerts, and what would that look like?
The text alerts?
Yeah.
So if you're on the platform, and let's say you had your sounds on first, so it plays a nice, cute little chirp when flow comes in, like that. I don't know if you heard it. You could also turn on voice alerts where she'll Wanda the whale watcher.
Alibaba, strike 102.0.
Will read you the flow as it comes in. So let's say you have some filters set, you minimize the screen, you could still hear Wanda telling you what's coming in. And then what was I going to say? The text alerts would come in. I don't have a way to show it on my computer, but it'll basically send you it's not a recommendation to buy or sell. It's literally an alert that this trade happened. So it's saying,
is it the same alert that's through the Discords?
Yes, only on.
If you brought up your Discord, could you show it on this screen?
Yeah.
It would also be like an invite, because you did mention people who have your product get an invite to your Discord, right?
Yeah, and even if you don't have the product, it's a free Discord, so anybody can join. And so we have the free Willy alerts. So let me bring this over there. And so we have the free Willy alerts. These look a little different than a text message would obviously come in. It's probably actually more similar to our Twitter. But when you're not a subscriber, you get access to these over here, which are the free ones. It's not going to be every alert. It's 1 out of every 3 or 4, and it's got a 15-minute delay. If you're a subscriber and you're paying for WhaleStream, you'll get access to the premium alerts, which will include every single trade, every single highly unusual alert, and you get it as soon as the trade's executed. So these are the same ones that show up on the Twitter. And then we have also unusual as well, which unusual is very, very similar to the highly unusual, except it has slightly less strict parameters, which is why it's unusual. And then we have much more strict versions of those parameters, which makes it highly unusual. And there's a lot more unusual orders that come in throughout the day, but they actually do perform in a similar manner as well. But yeah, you get access to our Discord for free, whether you're a member or not. There are perks to being a member, like getting real-time alerts, being able to get texted about alerts. Soon you'll be able to create, we're getting to the finish lines with our mobile app, which again, you'll be able to create custom filter settings, save them, and then you'll be able to create push notifications for your custom filtered settings. So if an order comes in that meets your filter, you'll get an alert of a trade that met your filter if you enable that for that filter setting. So you'll be able to have custom alerts and stuff like that as well.
I know that when you and I were talking, you had mentioned not being on a cash account and still not being above the PDT level either. And while that's prohibitive in the obvious sense that you can't just go out and trade as much as you want, you still found a way to use this platform and find trades and trade in that kind of account, right? So this kind of trading fits just about any kind of trader out there. Small account, large account, swing traders, day traders, scalpers.
Exactly. So what I was telling him about my small account challenge, which I don't want to advertise because I don't want to tell people, you know, I did this, so that means you can do this, because I'm not a new trader. Anybody can do it, but it's difficult, and you gotta kind of know what you're doing, and it takes time. But so I don't want to sell like a, hey, you sign up for WhaleStream and you're gonna go 17,000%. So don't think that. But I did start a small account challenge in January just to kind of reinforce some of my rules, and it did very well. But the rules that I followed are stuff that anybody can follow, whether you are a new trader, an old trader. And what I did was I guess what's that expression, like, oh, kiss, keep it simple, stupid. So I'm a firm believer of that. So what I used to try and trade all different types of setups and stuff, and then I realized if I just stick to SPY, and as Mike just said, past results are not indicative of future results. Always do your due diligence. But what I have done, and it's so like my success doesn't necessarily mean people are going to replicate, but the rules that I followed was I kept it simple. So I focused on, you know what, instead of trying to find different setups on different stocks every day, I'm going to focus on one or two symbols, SPY and QQQ, or spot, like SPY and SPX to me are interchangeable. Now that my small account challenge was on Robinhood just for fun, which is why I used SPY, because you can't trade SPX there. Now that when I normally trade, I do SPX because contract fees. And I will get to that question in a second. I just saw another question come in. So as far as the keeping it simple. Okay. So I was looking for just SPY, SPX, and QQQ, and then I would look for bull flags. I'd look for bear flags. I'd look at cup and handles, because the handle is a flag. So again, I'm keeping it to like those flags, and inverse versions of those, and head and shoulders. So those are my main patterns that I look for. Then I use the flow to kind of, we have a filter here for S&P 500, which I went over before, is the top 25 weighted stocks of the S&P, because those are the stocks that are going to impact the direction of the S&P. So then I kind of gauge, make sure that the flow is in support of my pre-existing thesis or trade that I want to enter. And then I enter, and I personally sell into the momentum. So I wasn't looking for 100%. I wasn't looking for 150%. I'm a firm believer in base hits over home runs. Sometimes your base hit will be a double, or you know, you'll accidentally hit a home run. But if you swing for home runs, you're gonna strike out. So I was going for like 10 to 20% per trade, usually pretty quickly. I personally trade same days a lot, which I don't recommend, especially if you're newer. So I can, you know, the 10, 20% happens really quickly. But it can also turn around really quickly, and then you get screwed. So I was doing a lot of scalping on SPY, and even when I only had the 3,000 in the account on the small account challenge, I still, same rules, but then my position sizes would not exceed a certain percentage of my portfolio value. So if you have a $3,000 account and you're doing 10 to 20% of your portfolio value per trade, you're doing a $300 trade. So it shouldn't exceed that value. And then as your account value grows, that 10% or 30%, whatever percentage you use, that grows with it, because 10% of 6,000 is now $600. So you're still keeping that percentage relative. It's going to stay the same, but the dollar value grows with your account. So that, and then you're just compounding. So that's a lot of what I did. And it worked out really, really well. But I think just sticking to strict rules, using this for confirmation bias, using it for trade ideas, using it to kind of give you a little bit of hesitation before you enter a trade, maybe because you're seeing whales betting against you, finding plays that are extremely unusual, and stuff like that, I think really does, the platform helps tremendously. I was using some of our competitors before we started. So we launched last year in June. So we just reached our full year. And we the reason we started was because we were using some of the competitors and they were just lacking a lot of features. Their usability was lacking. They didn't show sale. A lot of the competitors do not show any sales. They only show the buys, which is why when we first launched, we were like, we'll show what people are used to seeing, but we'll also give them the option to see sales. And then most recently we added the merge. But we were also, they weren't providing much details on the trade. They were giving you like half of what we're showing here, and then they weren't providing these tags. Someone did ask how we differ from one of our competitors, so I do want to address that. It's really usability and user interface. We're all showing similar data. It's all trades that are happening on the exchanges. It's really how you present it, and not like there are some platforms that they might have a few more different quirky tools that they added in, but a lot of them don't make sense, and a lot of them do. We try to focus on the ones that make sense the most, and then we try to make them really, really good. So we that's kind of been our focus. Is our dashboard, we get touted all the time because it's easy to use, it's easy to read, it tells you the important information, it's interactive. You can click on this and just see the sector. You can click on Amazon and it'll filter right to Amazon. You can click on calls, it'll filter right to calls. You could click on ask and only see things on the ask side. Literally everything on here is clickable, and it'll filter in all those ways. And then we have so many different filters to choose from in our filter panel. With that, plus the order X-ray tool, and the market tracker, which is this page over here, which has all these different analysis. It's really just, we try to give you the most usable and actionable features and make them work the way they're supposed to and work well. We think of us like the Apple of flow platforms. We're all about our user interface and our user experience and making it work the way it should.
One thing that got my attention when I first went to your site, and it was actually answered by someone in your Discord. When I started asking questions, they said, well, if you just stop your mouse on one of the things that you're asking questions about, it pops up with information. And I found that really insightful. I didn't have to go somewhere to find out, well, what's that mean? What's it trying to tell me? All I had to do is just stop my mouse there, and it popped up with a little bit of information telling me what that thing meant or what that word meant.
Yeah, I think you were asking about aggressive. So this is it right here.
Yep. I love that. I want to be able to use it intuitively. I don't want to have to go read a manual, read a book, figure it out. It was just, you just stop your mouse there. It pops up with the information that you need. Now you understand what you're working on, and you can move on to the next thing.
Exact. And that's what my partner is, the dev. And he's like, I think he's a genius when it comes to user interface and user experience. So whenever we're like, oh, we're going to come out with a new feature, and we're like, we both have our different ways of how we're going to kind of apply, like how we see this feature being implemented. If he has a different view, I don't typically argue with him. I'm like, you know what, you know what you're doing as far as user interface, and I'm not gonna fight you on that. So, and as you can see, it's worked out really well that way. We also have I don't know if I showed this at all in this, but we have a little side chat on the side where members can interact and talk to each other about the flow. You can tag symbols by typing a $sign. So like if I type spy, I don't want to hit send, but it would turn green. I think if I scroll up, I can probably find where somebody did. Okay, beam, boom. So if I click that, it would filter to it. I guess there isn't any flow that meets the filters that I have on for that today. But yeah, you can.
So you have the presets already made for a client who doesn't necessarily know what they want, but you left it customizable so that if somebody like me, say, wants to come in and adjust it to what I want, I do have that user ability.
Exactly.
I think that says a lot, because a lot of places out there provide either just a bunch of information, too much information that for the most part, we're not going to find actionable, or they're only giving you part of the picture and there's not enough there to take any action. Then you have to go do research somewhere else trying to figure out what that flow is going to be used for.
Exactly. And I do want to address, I see Nedge asked about the flow sentiments. So I was kind of talking about this before, and one of the things, actually, let's go back to the S&P 500 filter. So when you're on buy flow, and this is what a lot of the other platforms, they only show this, things filled on or towards the ask, above the mid. They only show buys on a lot of them. And the typical way of calculating the sentiment is going to be based on the put to call ratio. And that takes total contracts bought on puts divided by total contracts bought on calls. And then you get a number like this. And usually if it's between 0.7 and 1, it's neutral. Anything below 0.7 is going to be bullish, and anything above 1 is going to be bearish. Now, when you go on sales flow, we actually, oh, and another thing, so this is based on volume, which is how most platforms do like to do it. I personally think that premium should also take it should also matter. If these contracts are only worth $20 and these contracts are worth $200, they might be buying less of these, but they might be pouring a ton more money, or vice versa, because this is bullish. They might be pouring a ton more money into one than the other. So when you click this, it'll actually recalculate the sentiment based on premium. And you see here, when you do that, much more money was spent today on bought puts than bought calls. So we have basically a 3-to-1. And you can see the sentiment is bearish. So in those cases, when I'm looking at this for sentiment, I like to see complements. I want to see if the contracts are like, if the volume is bullish, I would like this to be bullish also. Otherwise, it's not as strong of a sentiment as I would like to enter a trade. I want all the stars to align. You don't need to enter a trade just to enter a trade. You want your stars to align, and then boom, you can enter. But I don't want to just enter to enter. I want all of my prerequisites to be met. So on sales flow, it works very similarly, only we are doing now call to put ratio. So we're doing it based on bear to bull ratio. So sold calls are bearish, sold puts are bullish. So we're doing call to put ratio, which is similar to the bought put to call ratio. Same rules apply. And then on the merge flow, we're doing both of those calculations. Then we're taking the average between them to get you the true merge sentiment with buys and sales across the board. And again, so today, now the flow is definitely leaning more bearish on the S&P, I think. Yeah, S&P. So we have neutral, and then we have bearish when you look at the premium. But we're still showing neutral when you're looking at the volume. So it's not fully super bear, or yeah, it's not super bear yet, but it's leaning more bearish because it's not two totally opposing sentiments that it's showing. I hope that makes sense. Mike, did that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it made sense. I know a lot of new traders who maybe don't use UOA, they may probably need to take a step back, right? Kind of look at the bigger picture. How do we use unusual options activity? But I followed along 100%. The question about being able to read flow, right? Say I don't have a bias on the day, and I turn on your platform, I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to decide, should I be bullish? Should I be bearish? What kind of setting would I want to use to just kind of see the flow that's going on out there, not confirming a bias that I have, but maybe giving me a bias because I don't have one.
So that, are you talking about total market, or are you talking about for a specific symbol?
No, I would say total market. Say I'm looking for some ideas. I've got some free cash available, and I just want to kind of take a look around. What should I be focused on today? Should I be bullish, bearish? Is the market even offering me something? What setting would you change to kind of get a broad idea of what's going on out there today?
So first thing I would do is I would go to that top flow. So you can go over here to the top flow, which it'll show you which tickers are getting the highest premium based on options flow. So puts, we're definitely high on these top tickers over here. But again, this only gives you a piece of the pie. This is just telling you total premium. It's not taking into account different expiration dates. It's not taking into account anything like that. When you're looking at short term, I always recommend coming over here, going to your expiration date range, and making it shorter. So we can click today, and maybe we do the next up until next week. So now we're only going to see contracts that are expiring by next week. And then when we look at that, we're seeing actually the sentiment is still, and this goes on both sides, based on today's flow, it's pretty bearish. So although today had a bullish, it was a bullish day, it doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of this week is going to be bullish. And you can kind of, I have so many things open for Zoom right now that so we're actually about to hit what I have as a resistance level on SPY at 415.59-ish. So I don't know if you see that also on yours, but we're approaching a level. But that's not to say that the market's going to turn around. So again, not everything is tried and true, always going to pan out. But what other filters do I have on here? Let's look at, we're also about to be adding a filter that will allow you to choose like a time range throughout the day. I think I was telling you this, Mike, which will also help with if you just wanted to look at like the last 30 minutes of flow and get rid of the stuff from earlier in the day, because maybe news has broken out. How are people reacting to that news? Filter out the stuff from earlier in the day and see the sentiment based on that. So you'll be able to do that based on time of day.
I really like that because we've been getting a lot of midday reversals where we were all bared up in the morning and now it's afternoon and we're all bullish, and we always have to just kind of overlook that bearishness to try to see the bullish afternoon. The idea that I can tell the feature, okay, start at noon, show me what we've been doing since noon, and I can ignore everything from the morning session. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's coming very soon. It's we have it coded back-end wise. We're just making it look pretty, and then we'll be adding it in on the next push. So that is coming, and that's gonna be something I think everyone's gonna really enjoy. And then in the future, we do plan to make the top flow and stuff like that more filterable as well, so you can the filters that you would have applied over here, you can maybe carry over into there. So it'll just show you the premium based on the orders that meet that criteria. Currently, that's a little ways out, but that is something we do plan to do where you can apply your filters to the other pages as well. This is just, this updates every day. I don't know if everybody in here knows about open interest, but I did want to show this every day before market open. We have the biggest, you can click on that OI changes, top OI, and you can see all the top OI changes. This actually, you can view every open interest for every contract within the options market. So you could even just filter to a symbol, and you could see all the top OI changes for SPY, increases and decreases, and you can filter it by, you want to see the highest OI, stuff like that. So you can, and soon you'll be able to click on strikes and you could already do expiration dates. So now based on 8/19 expiration, we had a lot of put increases yesterday. So
Now,
again,
can you
SPY
filter
is,
that by, can you filter that by the OI change on a certain date and time, say for the last week? If I wanted to know how much the open interest has changed in SPY at the 4/14 over the last week, or is it just overnight between one day and the next?
this is going to be one day, like it'll show you everything, like the current open interest versus the open interest of the day prior. But then you could also go back dates. So now I'm looking at the open interest from yesterday. Now I'm looking at the open interest changes from the day before. Then I can go back to the one that was posted on
Another
7.
question is, when does your open interest change kick in? I was always taught that it's per broker, but that it will happen before 9:30, right? Before the new day begins, you'll see the open interest change. But when does
Exactly.
your number actually change?
Usually between 9 to 9:15, and you'll know based on the, hold on, it'll tell you what the date is. So like this
Sure.
is open interest changes for Tuesday. So that's the open interest that occurred yesterday.
And your platform doesn't like chart the Greeks or map out the Greeks or even plot an option with all of its stats and numbers, right? You're not offering option data within the options chain.
Correct. We're not providing like streaming quotes or anything like that, if that's what
Right.
you're asking.
Yep. Yeah, that was a question from the
we-
chat, and I just wanted to bring it forward.
Yeah, no, we'd have to charge a lot more if we were
Yeah.
selling streaming quotes. The licensing for that is ridiculous. But I see somebody asked about the highlighted colors. So I think you're talking about, we'll just do highlighted flow. We have a filter for that. Boom. And let's clear out the rest of the filters. So boom and boom. Okay. So what this means is it's pretty simple. If it's green or red, it just means that the premium is over 1 million. That means this trade, somebody paid over $1 million to enter. 7.48 million.
Platform read that trade as a bearish or a bullish bias, right?
Correct. Green means bullish, so either bought calls or sold puts, and red means bearish, either sold calls or bought puts. And oh, I think he's talking about top option flow. Are you talking about here? This is by premium. So the red means that there were $566 million worth of puts bought on Netflix today, and 300. And so the red means puts, green means calls. This is only based on the buy side. So this doesn't take into consideration the sales as well. I think that answers this question.
Yep, I think so too. And I had looked at that too, and I didn't question it, but I'm glad he did, because I just learned something when he did that.
Oh, good. I'm glad he asked then, because we used to tweet those throughout the day, like to provide updates on on, the top flow of the day where we're sitting, like, and it would post, I think 3 times a day. We stopped doing it when we like switched servers. It just didn't carry over and we just haven't added it back. But that was okay, cool. Oh yeah, another thing we have is the dark pool version of that same thing, where you can see where this isn't going to show you levels, it's just showing you by premium which symbols have been getting the most dark pool activity during the day. So you could see by a long shot, it was Tesla today, almost more than double the next largest, which was HYG. So
Now on your dark pool, is this orders that went through yesterday that now got picked up today, or is this orders that went through today that other places will show tomorrow as a dark pool?
So the signature prints are the trades that were likely executed yesterday. What a signature print is like the craziest version of a dark pool. So they purposely route it through a European trade desk, which allows them to report the trade up to 24 hours later.
And it's
So a lot of the time,
size too, right?
yeah, they have specific size lots. We point those out on here. So when we're looking at dark pools, signature prints, boom, you'll see the little signature print symbol, and then you'll see we can't indicate a buy or sell because we don't have an accurate timestamp on these and they're reported late, so we can't match it up to a bid and ask. But you'll see a lot of the time they're going to be on the exact same price, 408.03, 408.03, and the QQQ ones were 314.29 and 205, 205, 251, 251, 250, like 251,000 shares, 251,000. So they'll be the same size lots, and a lot of them will be executed at the same exact price because these are from the prior day, and they're doing that so that they don't have to report. A lot of the time you won't even see this price, like on big signature print days, you'll see these trades coming in and you'll notice those levels didn't even trade during the trading day, during the current trading day, which is another like big indicator that it was from the prior day. So today, what was the low? I think the low today on SPY was like 410 maybe, or even if it was it never traded at 408. So right. Whereas yesterday it definitely did. So these are the trades that are 24 hours delayed. The non-signature prints, some of them do have codes that indicate that they might not have been reported immediately. This feed is delayed by 15 minutes. So this one is not real. The options flow is real time. When that trade is executed, it hits the dashboard. This, due to exchange requirements, we have a 15-minute delay. So this trade would have taken place about 15 minutes ago, but it was today. So the ones that we can't tell, again, we don't show the bid ask and it's white, whereas things on the sell side are going to be red for sell, bearish, and green for bullish. Again, as I mentioned earlier, any assumption of buy versus sell is an assumption. It is a common practice to use the bid and the ask because of the whole supply and demand example that I gave you earlier, to determine if it's a buy or a sell, but it is an assumption. So it's not like 100% science, but it's a pretty, I mean, if you're trying to sell something and if you want out of something, think about the Robinhood experience. If any of you use Robinhood and you're trying to exit a position and you put your limit order in and it doesn't fill, then you have to cancel it, then you have to fill it again. I mean, you have to submit it again, but it just keeps going down. You're like chasing the waterfall. You're just going to set a limit order for even lower than the bid because you just want out. You're going to take what you can get and you don't want to have to keep chasing it all the way down. Whereas when you're trying to buy something, if you're at your entry, and I'm going to use Robinhood again because Robinhood's like the perfect example of like needing to do this. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to enter or exit trades. If you try to use their like pre-filled limit order, most of the time, by the time you hit submit, it's gone up another 5 cents. And then it's not, I'm talking contract prices, which if you're doing like same days like I am, 5 cents is a big difference in some of those values. So a lot of the time I would put my ask above the ask. I'd put my limit above the ask because I'm just going to buy it. I want in now, and I will pay whatever they're asking for, because supply and demand, my friend. So that's kind of the reason behind the whole bid ask thing.
I think you did a really good job of walking everybody through this, and I'd love to have you back again. Is there anything that you didn't talk about yet that you would really like to highlight or bring up, or even just rehash something that you went through before, but you really want it to stand out?
I do think it is the very most important thing is definitely, everybody trades different. So definitely I recommend, and that's why we give people a free trial. You don't have to commit to anything. Sign up for the 7 days, cancel if you don't love us. Hopefully you love us. And make sure you use their the Bullish Bears affiliate code. But sit on the sideline at the beginning, watch how things do react, because you can see, like, when I'm just going through this randomly and trying to like show you things, I'm just trying to show you quickly while I'm brushing over things, but not everything is just going to be boom, true science. Like, you want to explore, you want to see if things support things, you want to pull up a chart and do due diligence, and then kind of, if you want to write it down, if you want to paper trade it, just to kind of keep track of how this would have been if you did do it. And I know paper trading is difficult because it's not real money, but if you're just doing it like, I'm going to buy one contract of what I think I would have bought based on this flow, and kind of see how that plays out. I mean, I think that's the best way to learn, is by doing what you think you would do and then seeing how it plays out. Okay, don't do that because that didn't pan out, and try something else, and just play with different strategies until you figure out the one that works best for you. And I actually think one of the things that people take for granted on here is how powerful this tool is, and kind of being able to see, I mean, this one just happened. So, but if I go to like an earlier in the day one, let's go to the first Tesla order of the day, which is going to be red because I think Tesla did well today. But just being able to, when you're doing all of this and looking at past trades or looking at historical flow and kind of seeing how these trades kind of panned out after the fact, or seeing what the stock did after the fact. Even sometimes you could figure out, okay, sometimes the whales buy the wrong contract. Like they're buying something that might expire this week, and they were right, but a day early. So, like, sometimes buy yourself more time. If you think the whale is right, but you pay a little bit more to buy the security of the further date. You don't always have to buy the same contract as the whale. Find the contract that makes the most sense for you. Those are big key things. And a lot of the time the whale's entries are terrible, because their trade, similar to why dark pools exist, when they're entering a giant trade, people see people see that buy order sitting there, and they're like, oh, let's rate, this person wants to buy a lot, so let's raise the price on them. So a lot of time their fill is going to be kind of crappy. So if you wait a little bit, you can usually get in at a better price than them. Sometimes not the case, but a lot of the time the case. So I'd say probably the most important thing is being able to do that, and also looking at the historical flow to kind of back test things that have already happened and see how things play out.
Awesome.
Does anybody have any final questions? I know I've kind of been all over the place because it's a very powerful tool. We try to keep a lot of it on one page so that you don't have to leave. Thank you, Ramdo. We try to keep it all consolidated to one page and make it as easily accessible. But when I'm trying to go over it. I was kind of all over the place because I'm trying to show you all the different bells and whistles at the same time. But if there's any questions that any of you have that you think I didn't touch on enough, or would like for me to touch on.
A few things that I'll add to the recording. One is anybody watching this on YouTube, you can feel free to ask your questions in the comments below. One of us will respond to it. Make sure you take the opportunity to join the Whaleflow Discord, because if you want to reach out to people at WhaleStream, that would be a really good way to do it. And if you're in the Bullish Bears Discord, so are the members or the owners, including Josh here from WhaleStream. So he's here in the Bullish Bears Discord. You can at him and ask him questions. As you see, he's very open to helping you out, pointing you in the right direction, providing the information that you're looking for.
Yeah, what he said. But yeah, anytime if you have any questions, you could. I think there's a few people in here from the WhaleStream side as well, and they can attest to. My DMs are always open. Yeah, ask me a question. I always prefer if you throw it in our Discord, because then everybody else not for, hey, throw it in the Discord, don't DM me, but more so if you throw it in the Discord, everybody can learn. Whereas when you're DMing me, only you do, which is fine. But if you're not shy and don't mind asking in front of people, I would love for more questions in the Discord so everybody can kind of piggyback learning off of each other.
That's a good point. Yeah. A collected wisdom.
Exactly. Oop.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for your time. I appreciate you being here, Josh. And I know that, we've
Thank you for having me.
We've been looking to get this done for a while. I would really love to have you back after a few weeks. I'm going to be using this during the live streams and maybe do a little day trading on options, which I normally don't day trade too much options. I lean more into futures for that, but I miss it. This was where I started, was options world, and maybe we do some user base and give people a chance to use the product, at least try it out with the trial and see if they like it, and maybe build, a consensus on getting you back with some questions preset ready to go.
Yeah, I would love that. And in the meantime, if you did want to sign up and kind of play around with it, and if the affiliate link isn't yet on their website, you can also use coupon code Bullish Bears during checkout and it'll still apply. So if it's not on there, I recommend doing that. If you wanted to jump on right away, if you want to wait till they get it on the site, or if it is already on the site, then don't even worry about that. But the coupon code Bullish Bears will work as well.
Awesome. That'll be it. Well, that's what I've got. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.